I grew up in Mississippi as a farmer, and my folks were real poor, so it left us as sharecroppers basically. And I came to Topeka, Kansas in 1962 in the Air Force. And at that time, the Vietnam War was just starting, and the GIs were treated terrible in Topeka. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get acquainted with the people in Topeka. And so I met these young guys that were about my age, a little bit younger actually, and they belonged to Shawnee Country Club. And so here I am, an airman, and from Mississippi, and I meet these guys at a country club, and they all play golf. I'd never been in a country club before, and they took me in, and so I became friends with Tom Friend, Bob Humes, Bill Beeman, with the main guys that I ran around with. First time I met Bob, we were at Allen's Drive-In, and he was riding around with who is my wife now. Jan Vickers and Carol Patch were in the car with Bob, and I started talking to him, and then I started dating Dan or Jan, and they'd take me over to the country club, and finally my father-in-law took a management job. He managed Shawnee Country Club. I think he started in about 63 to 66. That was a pretty long term for a country club manager. They sort of went through them, seemed like pretty fast back then. But he gave me a job in the men's locker room, so I started meeting a lot of the country club folks, and they seemed to like me, and I liked them, and one of the members was Al Warner, which was the personnel manager at Goodyear, and he gave me a job at Goodyear when I got out of the Air Force, and I worked there 35 years. I come to a different town. I'm from a small town in Mississippi, had no friends other than a few Air Force buddies, and these guys from a country club took me in and made me one of their crew. I mean, we hung out. Bill Beeman's folks, what seemed to me was real wealthy, and they took extravagant vacations and would leave Beeman home alone. And so I participated in a few parties I don't know if I should talk about, but they knew an awful lot of young girls back then, and Beeman's house was in Westboro, which was a very elite part of town at that time. Still is, I think. And but Beeman always had new cars, lots of women folks that he knew. We became good friends. All these guys were just took me in and made me, feel like I was a full-fledged country club guy. My dad, as he got older, he only went to school for like 4 years, I think. I think he quit in the 4th grade. And like one of my uncles never went to school. He couldn't read or write. I did go to school a lot longer than the rest of my family did. It wasn't important for them to go to school, but when I went to Goodyear and I found out that how important it was to be educated, I went back and I got some college and worked my way up through the ranks at Goodyear. Came out of there as a middle manager, and in Goodyear I started out as a worker, and I was a good worker because I was raised in an environment where work was just part of your lifestyle. And so they thought I was such a good worker, they made me what they call a balance man. And so I learned all the jobs in this earth mover production. It turned out that Bob and Friend and I were still friends after 50 years and still run around together. Bob moved to Kansas City, so we don't go out to eat every night like we used to, once a week, but we still hang out. For me to come from that background and to be able to fit in with what seemed like to me a very high society group of guys, it was just amazing that it worked out as well for me as it did.